again. It's Math with Mrs. Peters, the crazy cat lady of Hiram High School. Today we're going to talk about a little bit more about slope-intercept form of line and graphing and all those other fun things. Okay, so very important things you have to remember about slope. If your slope is positive, then the line goes uphill. And that means it'll look like, on your graph, it'll look something like that. Now, if your slope is negative, the line will go downhill, which means you went from left to right, you'd be going down a hill. And remember that we read from left to right, so that when we see our graph on an XY coordinate system, the rectangular coordinate system, that slope going like this, a line going like this, has negative slope, and a line who's going like this has positive slope. Let's go ahead and write that in too. Okay, and if the m is a whole number, then we want to put it over 1 to form a fraction, because remember, our slope is rise over run, and if we're going up, we also need to know how far over we are going. So now we're going to give in a line in slope-intercept form. Okay, we need to identify the slope, the y-intercept, and then graph the line. So I have some lines graphed here. We're going to match them up, and we're going to be using what we know about slope-intercept form of a line. Remember that the equation for slope-intercept is y equals mx plus b, and m, not the x, just the letter in, or the number in front of x tells us our slope, and b, okay, is our y-intercept. So let's look at some examples here. Okay, now the first equation, y equals negative 2x minus 3. Okay, my slope, let's use the same color, my slope is negative 2. My y-intercept is negative 3. Okay, let's go down and let's do all of them, and then we're going to match them to our graphs. Okay, our slope in the second equation is positive 2/3. Okay, our y-intercept is positive 2. All right, last equation, our slope is 1/3, and our y-intercept is negative 4. Now, let's look at our graphs that we have. Let's go ahead and let's figure out which ones, oh, we could probably pick this just by our y-intercepts, but I want to make absolutely positively sure. This one's y-intercept is positive 2. That's this point. This one's y-intercept is negative 3. Okay? And this one's y-intercept is negative 4. Now, sometimes you're going to have multiple choices, and we still need to pay attention to our slope. So my slope here was up 2, right 3. Okay, well that obviously means this is equation D. This is line equation D. Okay, E says I go, okay, up and left. So I went up 1, 2, 3. I went up 4 and left 2. Well, that means I have 4 over negative 2, and when I simplify that, that's the same, that's my slope, and that's the same thing as being negative 2. So that helps me identify this. It's graph E. First equation is graph E, and of course, by default, you would say that F must be the last equation, but I want to make sure that we're right. So let's see, I went up 1 over 3. So that is, my slope is 1 over 3. Yeah, that matches the last one. So there we go. So this is identifying slope in the y-intercept and graphing the line. Now, the next part of this lesson, what happens if our line is not written in slope-intercept form? And it becomes really important, guys, to be able to write it in slope-intercept form so we can use our calculator. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to move all the non-y terms to the right. Okay, so we're going to rewrite by moving all non-y terms to the right. So my non-y term here is 4x, and when I say to the right, I'm talking about that line. So I'm going to move it by subtraction, and they cannot be added or subtracted together because they're not like terms. I'm just going to rewrite them because we're used to seeing the x in the front part. And no, that does not dismiss you because you got to listen to the rest of this lesson. Okay, now I divide by the coefficient of y. That is the number in front of the y. In this case, it's 5. So I'm going to divide both pieces by 5, and I'm going to simplify or reduce if possible. Does 4/5 reduce? No, but 10 over 5 does reduce to 2. So now I know that my slope is -4 over 5, or down 4, right 5, and my y-intercept is the ordered pair 0, 2. That means that I can take a line that is written in a non-slope intercept form, it's called standard form, and I can then graph it. Okay, now let's look at this problem. We have 9x minus 4y equals -16. Okay, so I'm going to write it up, and it's not in slope intercept form, but I'm going to practice what we just learned. Okay, so I have to move the stuff that does not have a y with it to the other side. So I'm going to subtract 9x. Remember, okay, the stuff on the right-hand side are not like terms. So all I can do is go ahead and rewrite it so that the x comes first. I'm just going to leave it alone. Make sure you bring down the sign in front of the 4. Now, I'm going to divide by the number coefficient of y, which in this case is -4. All right, so what I end up with is y equals, well, -9 divided by -4 is +9 over 4, and -16 divided by -4 is +4. All right. What I want you to do is I want you to identify the slope, which is 9 over 4, or up 9, right 4, okay? And then I have the y-intercept of 0, 4. So let's go ahead and plot our y-intercept. It's right here. Now, if I try to go up 9, okay, then I'm going to go right off my graph. But what I want to also notice, I don't even think y'all noticed, that I can go down 9 and left 4, and that means that'd be like not negative over a negative. Okay, so I can still do that. So I can go down 9 and left 4, and that puts me a dot right there. Okay, now that means I can draw a line. I'm going to get out my handy duty ever popular line maker, and we all know that I have this nice little line maker. Okay, and I'm going to draw a line between my two dots. Now, what's wrong with my line? My line does not extend beyond the dots, so I have to extend it beyond the dots. And what else does my line have to have? Because it goes on forever and ever and ever, it has to have arrows on the end. And there I am. In fact, you know what? I'm going to change its color. I'm going to change its color so that it's a pretty blue line since I got my colors back. All right. If you have any questions, go ahead and write them down. That way you don't forget them. Bring them to class or tutoring. I'll be happy to help you. Y'all have a good evening. Bye-bye.